Hello all, welcome to UNext Officer channel. I am Dr. Adra and I will be teaching you important topics of biology which are repeatedly asked in UPSC and other central exams. If you haven't subscribed this channel, then please do subscribe this channel. In today's episode, I will be teaching you digestive system. Digestive system is an important system of the human body and its primary function is digestion and absorption. As you can see in the diagram, the digestive system starts in the mouth and it ends in the rectum. So let's learn about each parts of the digestive system through this diagram. So first we'll talk about the mouth. The parts of mouth are it has the teeth. The teeth helps in the mastication of the food that we eat. Then it has the tongue. The tongue will helps in mixing of the food particles with the saliva. Then it has a palate, uvula and pharynx. So once the food enters into the mouth, then it will enter into the esophagus. From the pharynx, it will enter into the esophagus. And from esophagus, the food will enter into the stomach. Once the food enters into the stomach, the enzymes present in the stomach will help in the digestion of the proteins and carbohydrates. Then from the stomach, the food will enter into the intestine. Into the intestine, secretions from the pancreas as well as from the liver will also enter into the intestine. The gallbladder present in the which is a part of the liver will secrete bile and it will enter into the intestine, as well as the pancreatic juice will also enter into the intestine. From there, the food it will help in the digestion of the protein and lipids present in the food. So from the stomach, food will enter into the small intestine. The small intestine has parts called duodenum, jejunum and ileum. And from the small intestine, food will enter into the large intestine. The parts of the large intestine is cecum. From cecum, food will enter into the ascending colon, transverse colon, descending colon, sigmoid colon, rectum and then anus. So that's all about the digestive system. So let's now discuss about the GI secretions. GI secretions are secretions from the gastrointestinal tract and that has a role in the absorption of carbohydrate, protein and fat from the food. So what are these GI secretions? They are saliva, gastric secretions, exocrine pancreas secretion, biliary secretion and small intestine secretion. And among them, the maximum secretion is from the stomach and that is the gastric secretion. And the most acidic is also the gastric secretion. Now the most alkaline secretion is Brunner gland secretion. These Brunner glands are present in the duodenum. Now let's talk about the saliva. Saliva has an isotonic pH of 7 and it is secreted from the salivary glands. There are mainly major salivary glands and minor salivary glands. There are 3 major salivary glands and several minor salivary glands. The 3 major salivary glands are parotid, submandibular and sublingual glands. Now let's discuss about the function of the salivary glands. The functions of saliva is to digest carbohydrate and lipid from food. Carbohydrate it is absorbed, digested with the help of salivary amylase or its other name is phthalate. And lipid from food is digested with the help of lipase. And it is important to note that for protein digestion there is no enzyme present in the saliva. Now coming to the regulation of saliva. Saliva is regulated by completely regulated under the control of autonomic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system is divided into sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system will stimulation will causes uh, secretion of thick saline secretion, whereas parasympathetic stimulation will causes secretion of thin and watery saliva. And it is also important to note that the saliva also helps in lubrication, and it also contains lactoferrin and lysozymes, which are antibacterials. That's all about the saliva. Now coming to the most important GI secretion, that is gastric secretion. As I have already said, it is a major part of the GI secretions, and it is the most acidic GI secretion. It has a pH of 1 to 3. Now, where are this acid produced in the stomach? To answer this question, we have to know about the types of cell in the stomach. So, what are the different types of cells present in the stomach? They are parietal cells, surface cells, chief cells, G cells, and enterochromaffin cells. This parietal cell will causes secretion of the HCl and intrinsic factor. In my previous video about the vitamins, I have already said that intrinsic factor is important for the absorption of vitamin B12. Now, surface cells will causes secretion of the bicarbonate, which is an alkali, and its role is acid neutralization. The chief cells will produces pepsinogen. What is this pepsinogen? The pepsinogen is an inactive form, and it will be converted to pepsin in the presence of HCl. And this pepsin will help in the digestion of proteins. G cells will produces gastrin, and this gastrin will produces will stimulate gastric acid secretion. An enterochromaffin cell will causes secretion of the histamine. Now, histamine is a chemical which has a role in mediating the allergy, but in stomach its function is to increase acid secretion. Now, what are the role of this gastric secretion in digestion? Let's look into that. First, about the lipids. The lipids is digested with the help of the gastric lipase enzyme, and proteins is digested with the help of the pepsinogen enzyme. What I have already said that pepsinogen is an inactive form, and it will be converted into pepsin with the help of HCl, and this pepsin will digest protein. Renin is an enzyme exclusively found in cows. And it is important to note that in gastric secretion there is no enzymes for carbohydrate digestion. Now, how is this gastric secretion regulated? There are three phases of gastric secretion. They are cephalic secretion, gastric phase, and intestinal phase. Now, the first about the cephalic phase. So, in cephalic phase, 28% of the gastric secretion occurs. Under this phase, gastric secretion will occur by seeing, thinking, or even talking about the food. There is no need for even taking the food. Whereas in gastric phase, 60 to 70% of the secretion occurs in this phase, and this phase, as the name suggests, occurs when the food enters the stomach, and thereby intestinal phase, as the name suggests, occurs when the food enters into the intestine. That's all about the gastric secretions. Now coming about the pancreatic secretion. Pancreatic secretion is an alkaline secretion, and it has a pH of 8.3 as it is bicarbonate rich. So what are the role of this pancreatic secretion? The pancreatic secretion contains pancreatic amylase, and its role is to digest carbohydrate. Then pancreatic lipase and co-lipase present in the secretion will digest lipids. Then proteins is digested by three enzymes: trypsinogen, chymotrypsinogen, and procarboxypeptidase. It is important to note that these three enzymes are zymogens. What are zymogens? Zymogens are inactive forms of the enzyme. So these three are secreted as inactive form, because these digestive enzymes should be present in inactive form, or otherwise it will cause autodigestion of the pancreas. This pancreatic secretion will ultimately reach the small intestine through pancreatic duct, and as the food reaches the intestine and these enzymes come in contact with the food only, they will be getting activated. So in small intestine, once the trypsinogen enters into the intestine, it will be acted upon by enterokinase. To convert trypsinogen into trypsin. And this trypsin, which is activated form, will convert chymotrypsinogen into chymotrypsin and procarboxypeptidase into carboxypeptidase. Now let's talk about the regulation of these pancreatic enzymes. The pancreatic enzymes are under the regulation of two secretions, cholecystokinin and secretin. Cholecystokinin is secreted by the small intestine, and its releases causes pancreatic secretion which is rich in digestive enzymes, whereas secretin is also produced by small intestine, and its stimulation causes release of pancreatic secretion which is rich in bicarbonate and thus helps in acid neutralization. But it is important to know that secretin will cause release of pancreatic secretion which is poor in digestive enzymes. So cholecystokinin will produces pancreatic secretions which are rich in digestive enzymes, and secretin will causes secretion of pancreatic secretion which are poor in digestive enzymes but are rich in bicarbonate and helps in acid neutralization. Now coming to the biliary secretion. The bile is produced by liver at the rate of 500 ml per day, and 97% of the bile is water content. The bile gets stored and concentrated in the gallbladder. Now let's look into the constituents of the bile. They are bile acids, bile salts, bile pigments, and cholesterol. The bile acids are of two types: primary bile acids and secondary bile acids. Among them, cholic acid and chenodeoxycholic acid. These two are the primary bile acids. These primary bile acids reach the intestine through common bile duct and reaches the duodenum. At the duodenum, it will be acted upon by the intestinal bacteria to form secondary bile acids. So what are the secondary bile acids? They are deoxycholic acid and lithocholic acid. Now these bile acids undergo conjugations, that is they get combined with either glycine or taurine at the level of liver. Now what are these bile salts? Bile salts are formed by combination of conjugated bile acid with either sodium or potassium. Now what is the function of this bile? The main functions of bile is digestion and absorption of the lipids and excretion of the cholesterol. The cholesterol and bile pigments get excreted through bile, and thereby it helps in reducing the blood cholesterol level. Now, how is this bile secretion regulated? The bile secretion is regulated by choleretics and cholagogues. What are these choleretics? Choleretics are those which increases bile secretion, and they are bile salts, secretin, and vagal stimulation. While what are those cholagogues? Cholagogues are those which causes the contraction of the gallbladder and causes release of the bile. And the example of cholagogue is cholecystokinin. Now coming to the intestinal secretion. Intestinal secretion is released from cryptolibacin which are present in the duodenum, and the secretion contains succus endricus. What are the constituents of succus endricus? They are erythrin, lactase, lipase, sucrase, maltase, enterokinase and nucleosidase. Let's look into each of them. Erythrin converts peptones into amino acids. Lactase converts lactose to glucose. Lipase converts fats into fatty acids and glycerol. Sucrase converts sucrose to glucose. Maltase converts maltose to glucose. Endokinase converts dipeptides to proteins, and nucleosidase helping digestion of the nucleic acids. So that's all about the intestinal secretion. So we have discussed about all the secretions of the GIT in detail, that are namely intestinal secretion, saliva, gastric secretion, pancreatic secretion and biliary secretion. So now we can discuss about the digestion of the major nutrients, that is namely carbohydrate, lipids and proteins in detail. At first, we will be discussing about the carbohydrate digestion. The carbohydrate digestion occurs mainly at two levels, that is saliva and intestine. It is important to note that the carbohydrate digestion does not occur at the level of stomach. So, the carbohydrate in the food is present in the form of sucrose. At the saliva, the carbohydrate will be digested by salivary amylase. And once the food is mixed with salivary amylase and they reach into the stomach, the salivary amylase get deactivated by the acid in the stomach. And upon reaching the intestine, the carbohydrate is acted upon by the pancreatic amylase, which is present in the pancreatic secretion. So, the pancreatic amylase will convert the carbohydrate into disaccharides and trisaccharides. And these disaccharides and trisaccharides will be converted into monosaccharides with the help of lactase and sucrase, which are present in the succus endricus of intestinal secretion. The monosaccharides are namely glucose and fructose. And once these monosaccharides are formed, they will get absorbed into the blood via the glucose and fructose transporters. Now about the lipid digestion. The lipid digestion occurs at three levels, that is at the level of saliva, at the level of stomach and at the level of pancreas. The saliva contains lingual lipase, the stomach contains the gastric lipase and the pancreas contains the lipase and colipase. So at first, triglycerides will be converted into monoglycerides with the help of lipase and colipase. And these monoglycerides, when once formed with along with the cholesterol and the fat soluble vitamins, they will form the micelles. These micelles will be formed at the lumen of the intestine, and they will be act as a transporter vehicle, and they contain a huge amount of free fatty acids. And the free fatty acid present in the micelles will move into the mucosal cells, and at the mucosal cell level they will form the chylomicrons. So the lipids are absorbed into the blood in the form of chylomicrons. While talking about the lipid absorption and digestion, there is an important thing to discuss, and that is enterohepatic circulation. As I have already said, bile is formed at the liver of liver, and the bile produced in the gallbladder will enter into the intestine. And once they reach the intestine, they'll reach into the terminal ileum. Terminal ileum is a part of the small intestine, and from the terminal ileum they'll get absorbed into the blood, and they'll reach into the through the blood they'll reach the liver again, and this results in the recycling of the bile. And why is this enterohepatic circulation of bile important? This is because bile synthesis is an energy dependent process, and thereby through enterohepatic circulation we can decrease the demand to form new bile salts. Now coming to the protein digestion. The protein digestion occurs mainly at two levels, that is stomach and pancreas. And it is important to note that protein digestion does not occur at the level of saliva. So the stomach contains pepsin and pancreas contains various enzymes. They are trypsin, chymotrypsin. Trypsin and chymotrypsin are endopeptidases, that is, they act on the bones in the interior region, whereas carboxypeptidases and aminopeptidases, these two are exopeptidases, that is, they act on the bones in the end region. So once protein reach our stomach, the proteins will get digested into dipeptides and tripeptides with the help of peptidases. And these dipeptidases and tripeptides, they'll get transported into the intestinal cells, from where they'll get broken down into amino acids by cytoplasmic proteases. These amino acids are then absorbed into the blood. So that's all about the protein absorption. So thereby we are discussed about the digestion of the three main nutrients, that is lipids, proteins and carbohydrate in detail. So that's all about today's topic. Let's meet in the next video with another topic. Thank you guys.